we take a look at the Fall Baccalaureate and the art that was presented at the Memorial Union Gallery.
Could this Sunday have been the last time we switched the clocks? A look at the efforts in Congress to stop the change.
Good evening and welcome to the Bison Innovation Network. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Jacob Morgan. We have the latest campus and local news coming up, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. The annual Fall Baccalaureate was back at the Memorial Union this past Tuesday.
Dash Mensel went to the gallery and got some insight on the event.
The Fall Baccalaureate is back on NDSU campus. I was able to talk to Babylyn Sanchez and Alex Light, two students at the event, about what the Baccalaureate is all about and why it's important for NDSU art students.
Tonight we have our Baccalaureate show. It's an accumulation of all the work we put in through over the years and what resulted in this semester. So here it's kind of like a capstone class where you have your main theme or idea and you focus on it with utilizing different mediums. And then at the end we have a show where we display all our work that we put in.
It's kind of like a way of putting out into the public just everything that we're working on here as a body of students. Really working together, kind of pushing each other and just trying to make the best work possible. And this is just a way to get that out into the public and not just have it be in a closed space.
During the event, both Sanchez and Light showed me the inspiration behind their works of art.
I focused on the tradition of crafts that have been passed down within my family, and through that I combined their craft with my own to create a body of work. And for this body of work, I've been interested in cyanotype, and I've extensively explored it throughout my time here. And through that, I was interested in combining it with portraiture, and through that, I connected it with my family and created an embodiment of who they are and what their craft is.
I've really always been focused on activism campaigns and social justice and awareness. And gun violence is just something that has been really important to me throughout my entire life, through just the impact it has on me personally and just on this country. And I guess I really pull inspiration from a lot of the great artists in that industry, like Shepard Fairey and just all these individuals.
Reporting for Bison Information Network, I'm Dashiell Menzel.
On Sunday, clocks fell back an hour as daylight saving time ended for the year.
Reporter Coy Hartle took a look at the legislative efforts to stop the annual time changes for good.
While the fall season is now well underway, the cooling temperatures and falling leaves aren't the only change taking place. Sunday marked the annual end of daylight saving time as clocks fell back an hour. While many people believe that daylight savings was established to help farmers, it actually began as a way to conserve energy in the United States during World War I. While it was abolished following the war, the biannual time change was eventually re-implemented in 1966. Recently, there's been a push to standardize a year-round time, with a bill establishing permanent daylight savings time unanimously passing the Senate earlier this year.
If you look at the way we live in this country, you want to have the ability to spend more time in the evenings outdoors, not just to enjoy the outdoors, but to make sporting and outdoor activities available for people at a time when, frankly, we're losing an hour and a half in some parts of the country because of daylight.
While the bill passed the Senate without opposition, students at NDSU aren't necessarily on the same page about continuing with the time change.
I guess it makes sense. Obviously, you don't want to be driving to work in the pitch black, especially if you get up early, but I guess I see the need for it, and it just kind of sucks where we live.
I do like getting, the extra, hours sleep, however, it is kind of a hassle that it happens just in general.
I like the extra hour of sleep that I get in the fall, but in spring I don't like losing an hour of sleep.
Although the bill won't go into effect until 2023 if implemented, it still has to pass the House to become a law. And while any changes that happen may influence the way we view the world, we still are confined with the limited amount of daylight across the winter season.
Like, it does suck, but I think it's just how it goes.
From Bison Information Network, I'm Coy Hartle.
You might have noticed a new structure on the main level of the Memorial Union. It's called the Little Feed Pantry, located across the Herd Shop. The Little Feed Pantry is a mini pantry available daily during the Memorial Union operating hours to anyone in need.
Next Tuesday, President Cook will be hosting the Hear the Herd event. This is an open forum event for students to share their concerns, ask questions, or offer their thoughts about campus. This event will be held in the Anishinaabe Theater at 7 p.m. All students are welcome to this event.
Next Tuesday, Let's Talk Careers is an event hosted by the NDSU Graduate School. They'll be welcoming the third group of speakers who can provide insights on career path choices for graduate students. They'll also touch on rewards and challenges of moving between academic and non-academic roles.
Tuesday, November 15th, the NDSU Collegiate Cattlewomen are hosting the Cows, Cookies, and Canvases event in Thundar's Den. A speaker from the North Dakota Cattlewoman will be in attendance. While listening to the speaker, you can enjoy cookies, popcorn, and lemonade. There will be blank canvases that students will be able to paint as well. This event will run from 6 to 8 p.m. and is open to all students regardless of major. In this week's segment of Professional Lunch, Rico Aladdin asked Alicia Fitz about what she does. Let's hear what he had to say.
I work over at the Student Health Service here on campus at NDSU. I am the pharmacy manager, or pharmacist in charge is what we call that in the pharmacy world. For roughly 10 years, when I first came to NDSU, I was teaching in the College of Pharmacy and also running the pharmacy at the Student Health Service, servicing the students. And in the last 5 years, I've been strictly over at the Student Health Service 100% of my time. But we service all student campus, and we have providers, physicians, nurse practitioners, and a pharmacy and lab. So we're basically the campus clinic and pharmacy right here on campus.
Wow. Did you always want to be a pharmacist?
You know, Rico, not necessarily. I came from a high line of educators, or a lot of educators in my family. Both of my parents were in education and education administration. My older brother went for elementary education, and I had aunts and uncles and cousins that also did education. And I just decided I wanted to do something different. Even though I knew that teaching was maybe part of what I wanted to do, I just thought I'm going to try something different. So I decided healthcare, but I wasn't sure which avenue. So when I started college, I just kind of kept an open mind and went through some of the undergrad courses and decided that pharmacy was the route that I was going to take. And got into pharmacy school and never really looked back. However, it kind of came back to me after working about 10 years as a pharmacist in the Minneapolis area. The opportunity here at NDSU to bring that teaching into my pharmacy career, I never would have thought teaching and pharmacy, the medical field, would come together like that for me. And I guess the teaching part in the family really stuck out, and that was kind of my calling to seek it out. So.
Yeah, I'm always curious about professionals who come onto the show on how did they decide on their majors when they're going to college. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, I think when I started college, you know, I just kind of figured healthcare, I really wanted to help people and try something different, like I mentioned, outside of teaching, which was my family's prominent vocation. But when I got to school, it was kind of shadowing, trying to find ways to shadow different healthcare providers in the community where I was at, whether it was family friends or meeting professors that I could go in and watch them do their work. And so I think it depends on how your classwork goes too. If you're doing well in your area of the major, and if it's interesting to you. Once you get into your major, it really, you have to find the content interesting, and sometimes people get there and they don't see that, or they don't gel with it as well.
Okay.
If you want to watch the entire segment, you can view his YouTube channel. Due to severe weather conditions, I-29 north and southbound lanes were shut down for several hours between Fargo and Grand Forks this morning. The North Dakota Department of Transportation says there was heavy blowing snow and freezing rain. There were also several crashes along the roadway morning near Gardner and Hillsboro. The roadway has since been reopened, but travel is still not advised.
This past Tuesday, elections were held across the nation. If you looked at any ballot for North Dakota, you probably noticed measure number 2. The law to legalize marijuana was rejected once again by 55% of state voters. This is the second time in 4 years that the law had been proposed.
Cara Munn spoke at NDSU a couple weeks ago informing students how to get involved in politics. She fell short in the U.S. House race against Kelly Armstrong Tuesday night. In the end, she ended up polling more than 35% of the vote.
The Fargo-Moorhead Community Theater at Island Park is set for demolition. During an act back in December of 2019, one of the beams in the roof failed. A team of contractors and engineers deemed the building too dangerous. The Fargo Park District has an alternative outdoor option plan for the theater. This will be part of the 2022 Island Park Master Plan. Demolition on the building will begin this week. That's all for news. When we come back, Nick Whistler will give us a look at Bison sports.
My name is Becky Parker, and I'm a news anchor at WDAY-TV. I graduated from NDSU in 2010 with a degree in journalism, broadcasting, and mass communication technologies, and then I had an emphasis on broadcasting. Principles of broadcast production and advanced broadcast production. Those were favorites because they were the most relevant for career experience. You're calling people for interviews, you're writing an article. It doesn't just feel like an assignment, it's like actually doing it. I was the news director for the first full semester of the Bison Information Network. The BIN advisor here was very much invested in me to actually have a career in broadcasting. He helped me get my internship and my first job. The people in NDSU's Department of Communication are really interested and helpful in getting students the connections that they need in order to get a job beyond school.
No kid deserves to go hungry, but try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today, so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
Bison football is coming off of a dominant victory at Western Illinois, beating the Leathernecks 56-17. NDSU wasted no time to kick off the scoring as Kobe Johnson took a house call 47 yards on the first offensive play from scrimmage. This was a definite tone setter as the Bison gashed Western Illinois on the ground throughout the day. Later in the quarter, Tamarick Williams followed suit as he finds a hole right off the tackle's hip to turn on the burners for a 25-yard score, his first of 2 on the afternoon. Let's go to the middle of the second quarter where our guy Hunter Lipke gets in on the scoring to enhance the lead to 21-3. You have to figure a guy like Lipke wasn't going to stay quiet all afternoon in such a run-heavy scheme. Now, coming out of the halftime break, the Bison had a 28-10 advantage when cornerback Marquise Siegel was gifted an interception from quarterback Clay Bruno. The house call was Siegel's 3rd career pick and first touchdown of his career. We'll take you to the start of the fourth quarter where the ground game kept rolling, this time in the form of TK Marshall as he caps off the offensive explosion for a 65-yard sideline dash to put the final score to 56-17 in favor of the good guys. The Bison will be back on the road in Carbondale, Illinois this Saturday to take on Southern Illinois at 1 p.m. The men's basketball team kicked off their campaign down in Fayetteville as they took on Arkansas on Monday night. Arkansas is coming off of 2 straight seasons with an Elite 8 finish, earning them a top 10 ranking coming into the new season. The Razorbacks showed why they are a top team in the country as they took down NDSU in cruising fashion with a final of 76-58. Leading the Bison in scoring was junior guard Bowden Skunberg with 17 points and junior forward Grant Nelson. Nelson, who went 5 for 9 from the floor, also tapped in with 6 boards. And Andrew Morgan filled the stat sheet with 7 points and 7 rebounds. The Bison are in Lawrence taking on the defending national champions, the Kansas Jayhawks. The NDSU wrestling team kicked off their season with a bang, taking on the number 8 Nebraska Cornhuskers in Lincoln. The Big Ten juggernaut, who is coming off of a top 5 finish in the NCAA championships last year, was looking to start the year off with a quality victory out of conference over the Bison, who reside in the Big 12. Though the night did not go as planned for the Cornhuskers, as the duel flipped on its head during the 165-pound bout when redshirt freshman Michael Caliendo locked up a cradle and secured the first period pin. This swung the momentum all the way in the Bison's favor as they took the 12-9 lead with only 4 matches remaining. Those 16 points allowed the Bison to be in the duel late, as it all came down to the heavyweights in the last match of the night, where redshirt freshman Juan Mora hits a beautiful level change into his high crotch finish to take the match lead 2-1. With 30 seconds remaining in the third period, Mora finished with a tough ride out to get his victory 2-1 and upset the Nebraska Cornhuskers in the duel 20-16. The wrestling team, ranked 19th in the country, is back in Fargo hosting the Bison Open Tournament on Saturday. The women's basketball team began their campaign on a high note, eking out a 2-point victory over the Montana Grizzlies. Leading the way for the Bison was senior guard Heaven Hamling, as she had a team high of 19 points with 6 assists. Abby Draper contributed with 12 points of her own, and freshman Elle Evans finished with 10, 2, and 3. The Bison will play host to Valley City State this Monday at 7 p.m. in the Shack. The volleyball team went into Grand Forks last Saturday and came back with a 3-2 victory. Allie Hinsey filled the stat sheet with 19 kills, 9 digs, and 6 blocks. Michelle Glover got hers with 10 kills and 5 blocks, followed by Syra Tanchin, who had 9 kills of her own. The Bison will host Omaha tonight at the Benson Bunker Fieldhouse at 7 p.m. and Denver on Saturday. And that will do it for sports. Stay tuned for your weather rundown with Lydia Lafine next.
One kid, one mentor, plus one moment can unlock limitless potential. One heart-to-heart, one inside joke. 30,000 youth are waiting. Be there for one of them. It's time. Become a big today.
The NDSU bookstore has everything you need to show off your Bison pride. The bookstore can have you sporting green and gold wherever you go. It offers many different brands, sizes, styles, and selection so that you find exactly what you're looking for. Shop the NDSU bookstore and show your spirit today.
Founded in 1985, the Missouri Valley Football Conference has established a tradition of FCS football excellence. Competing at the highest level of NCAA Division I, student-athletes at its 10 institutions demonstrate character, passion, and integrity as they grow as a student, an athlete, and a citizen. The Missouri Valley Football Conference, where leaders are shaped and champions are forged.
There are so many great things to experience at NDSU. It's hard to pick one, but my favorite is
The people. They make it such a warm place. The Bison aren't just across the country, they're across the globe.
It's the perfect distance from home. The faculty are our biggest cheerleaders. Hands-on research experience. The affordable tuition.
All the opportunities to stay active on campus.
Real-world learning experiences.
once I got on campus, it felt like home.
Welcome back to the Bison Information Network. I'm Lydia Lafine, and I have a look at what to expect from the weather in the area, as well as a peek of what's going on across the country. Let's start off here at home in Fargo-Moorhead. Some current conditions we have, they haven't changed much from earlier today. You can see we are looking pretty hazy as the moon rose, and that's expected to continue on throughout the rest of the night. We saw the sun rise early today at 7:23 a.m., and it's only going to be rising later and later. We're continuing to lose our amount of sun as we get later into the season, and today we had only 9 hours and 35 minutes of daylight. Going into later this evening, we'll see the misty haze we currently have begin to turn into an overcast until morning. This could turn into some freezing rain as we begin to see ourselves go back and forth between just barely freezing temperatures into sub-freezing. Currently, temperatures you see across the U.S., we have a large cold front coming in from the Arctic. We can predict that this will continue moving south, eventually affecting east as far as New York, stretching down into Tennessee. Moving on to our rain and snow forecast, you can see we have some scattered storms sweeping across the U.S., going around the Appalachian Mountains in this area. You can also catch a mix of rain and snow showers going through Oregon as the cold front continues to stir up some clouds in the area. Finally, going back home, you can see the small collection of storms making their way straight through North Dakota into northern Minnesota. We can thank that for our hazy conditions right now. Moving on, the weather conditions tonight going into this weekend look to be a mix of what we saw earlier today. You can see a high of 22 for tomorrow, going down to a low of 17 as we go into Veterans Day. And eventually through the weekend, we can see some similar freezing showers and mix of snow with just a little bit of sun peeking through as we go down into the single digits. Going into Sunday, you can see precipitation begins to follow throughout the rest of the week as Monday gets us to a high back in the double digits of 29 going down to 22. Tuesday has a 25-degree high, and that's just when we begin to go into the sub-zero temperatures, clocking in at -4 degrees. But that continues on, and we eventually get back up into the double digits again Wednesday and Thursday, getting into the low teens. You can still expect some rain showers and snow flurries, but that's just what we have here in the Midwest for our weather. That's all I have for you today, and remember, if you see any interesting weather, be sure to submit it to be potentially featured on the show. You can find the Dropbox on our website at www.ndsubin.com/news. We thank you for joining us tonight on the Bison Information Network, and we will see you next Thursday. Have a great evening.